Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining Create with D. Tonight's Wednesday, so we are live at 5, streaming both on Facebook and YouTube. Welcome. Tonight, we're going to be playing with the designer paper from Stampin' Up! Called Like an Animal. So it's really fun piece of paper or pack of paper, and we'll get more into that later. And so just as you come on, as always, if you want to say hi, let me know where you're from, and go from there. I will be responding to all comments after the broadcast. So sometimes it's kind of hard for me on my streaming service to catch everybody on real time. So I'll be saying hi afterwards if I don't catch you live here. All right, let's jump right into the projects that I have for the Like an Animal Designer Series paper. Okay, so we're going to be making these 3 projects. Let me switch the camera mode around. We're going to make these 3 projects here. 2 of them are going to use the idea of making strips of paper on it. So we'll be making this card here, and then I'll share with you how you can add color to it. And then also how we're going to maximize any really 12 by 12 designer paper and make cute little treat holders with it. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll make this first card. Now this first card was inspired by a fellow demonstrator, Carrie Blake. I got her card as a swap card, and I took that inspiration and went with it. Okay, for this first card, let's go ahead and we'll talk about the paper here just real quickly. This paper here, it's what they call a specialty designer series paper. And and what it is, specialty normally means that it's got a little bit of a sheen or shine to it. And so one side of the animal print paper, is either has the like a gold foil or a silver foil on it, but then the other side is matted. So it's kind of like a traditional piece of designer paper. So whatever side is on one side, it's going to be, so like here's perhaps the giraffe print, and then on the back side of that would be the matte side of it. Same thing here for the zebra. Then on the matte, or the other side of it, is the matte look for it. Okay, and you have 12 different sheets. So we'll be looking at all of those here in a little bit. All right, so for this card, not only is it a great way of showcasing this particular designer paper, but it's a great way of using up any scraps that you may have too, because these are like super little pieces of paper here, and I love that. Okay, so what are we going to need for this card? I found that soft suede really does, is a good card base for the animal print. It kind of plays back to the gold a little bit on it. So we're going to need a piece of, this is kind of like a standard card base of 8.5 by 5.5 and scored and folded in half. And I use the largest of the deckled rectangle dies, and I've made 2 of them, one for the front and the back. For the strips of paper that we're going to need from our Like an Animal Designer Series paper, we are going to take 2 strips, and I kind of like to mix and match. There's 6 different patterns in there, so I used one of each of the different sheets of it, so that this represents all 6 different patterns that you'll find, and so that's why we could look at it here. On 2 of them, we're going to cut the 2 of them at, these are all cut at 3/4. 2 of them are 3/4 by 3, and 4 of them are 3/4 of an inch by 3¼ inch. Okay, so we can just kind of mix and match what we'd like. You could either do all of the metallic side on it, or if you'd like, you can kind of mix and match the, matte to matte and the foil. And that's kind of what I did here. I think it kind of makes it look, kind of tones down the metallic a little bit. All right, so what I did is I, took one of the rectangles, and here, let me just kind of show you. It is the largest rectangle. And I'm going to use my liquid glue, on this. And you can kind of center it a little bit. If you got grid paper, you can kind of, get it so where you think it's centered here. And I'm going to start with one of the larger pieces. So this is the 3/4 by 3 1/4. And whichever side that you want, I'm going to go ahead and put the, like the metallic side down. And again, I'm going to kind of start this and put this right in the middle. It's strips of paper, so it really doesn't matter what I want to say. You can crisscross them a little bit if you want. I'm just going to kind of overlap them. And I'm going to see which way I want this. I think I want that. Okay, so then I start in the middle, and now I'm going to do the metallic side. And I'm going to offset this just a little bit. So I'm going to overlap it and bring this so that it's down just a little bit. So I'm not lining them up. I'm kind of moving them vertically. And that's when I say like I'm offsetting it just a little bit. Oh, let's do the metallic side. So again, this is the length on this one is the 3 1/4. And this time I'm going to make it a little higher. And I'm going to get this one. Let's use the other side. This is kind of like a scale side. And kind of put that one again in the center. So I have this one center, up, down, up. There's no right or wrong, however yours is going to work out. And this will be on the ends. Now on the ones on the end, I'm going to end it with metallic. And again, I'm going to kind of center that. And then metallic. And there's no rhyme or reason for the order that I'm choosing. I'm just like whatever's kind of going with the flow. And so just kind of show you. So again, this is no matter, even if this wasn't like the animal, you could use this with any of your scraps. Now for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and put this right onto the card front. And I'm using my liquid glue. As you can see, I've got a light touch. When I do it, I squeeze it just hard enough to get a fine bead. If you get big glops on it, you're squeezing too much and you're wasting it, quite honestly. All right, so then what I'm going to do for the sentiment here, I'm using the sentiment from, and you can use any sentiments or any stamp sets that you want. And I want to show you how you can mix and match what you're using. So I'm using Charming Sentiments, and I'm using the one that says Beyond Grateful here. And these come with the matching die, so they cut it right out. So I'm going to go ahead and use Soft Suede. And I'm going to stamp that. And then I can grab my die and die cut it out, and I have that. You can also fussy cut or trim around it or do whatever else that you'd like. What I really like is this metallic mesh. This is a great ribbon to have with this animal print, just because you can pick up so much of the silver from it. And I'm going to get my scissors here. I might trim some of this down, but I don't need much, maybe about 5 or 6 inches. And what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to grab a dimensional. A Stampin' Dimensional is a foam dot. They call it Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'm going to put one over here in the center. Now this is going to hold the mesh. So all I'm going to do is just take the mesh and I'm going to crinkle it up in my fingers here and put that down. And then that dimensional's got the glue or the adhesive on the side, and that's going to hold that down. And I'm going to go ahead and take 2 more dimensionals. Now this time I'm going to put them on the outside. And kind of keep that going straight. You can do adhesive however you'd like. I'm just doing it this way because I want this particular component to be raised. So beyond grateful. Then I'm going to take my scissors and you can trim down the metallic mesh. It's pretty forgiving. You just kind of trim it, flare it out a little bit, kind of get it turned to where you want. And there we go. And then I thought it was kind of neat to, oh, and I liked the deckled rectangles because I thought it gave it kind of an animal kind of vibe for it to have that ripped look. I thought that was kind of cool. So I have another one. I die cut 2 of them out, and then this will be our piece that we'll put on the inside and do our handwriting in. All right, so that's one idea of how you can use the Like an Animal Designer Series paper. I'll put that off the side. I hope you like it. Next, what I wanted to show is that you can take this designer paper, and since it has a white background, we can apply whatever color we want. So this isn't another designer series paper. This is the Like an Animal, only I've used my blending brushes to get this look. So let me show you how I did that. I took my the Like the Animal print, and I wanted to stick all with the gold tones. And so I cut a couple of the strips of, these are 1 inch by 12 inch and then 1 1/4. You can mix and match the sizes that you'd like. I just kind of had these from leftover from something else. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of basic white cardstock. This is 4 by 6. And I'm going to use this to apply my my paper to get that striped look. Because if you notice here, I've got all of the animal prints on it. Now, if I wanted to, I could just take any of the print here. Let me grab one of the sheets. And I could do the same technique all on one, and you wouldn't have to do this. But I kind of was all about trying to share with you guys how to use strips of paper. And again, it could almost be like using up scraps as well. All right, so to get this angle look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my liquid glue. And again, these are full 12-inch strips. Now, if I wasn't doing it for a demonstration, I wouldn't have this many of it, but for the sake of time, I am. All right, I'm going to start up in a corner. And again, a light bead on it. And I'm going to, let's start with this one. Oh. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, doesn't matter the angle, whatever angle that you'd like to start with. And I'm going to make these long strips here. And I'm hitting at the edge. And so this is going to be the angle. Is that the angle I want? Maybe it's a little too much. That's why I like liquid glue. I can kind of play around with it. It has a little bit of the play with it. Now on this one, I do want to kind of butt them right up next to each other. And you just want to make sure that you have the end cover here. So you're going to have this look on the back. And let's see, better get my glue. If you're comfortable with putting glue on all of it, you can do that, or you can do it in sections. I'm going to go ahead and get glue all on the all on it. And let's see, I'm going to get this cheetah pattern next. So what you get, one of them where you'd like it, the other ones just slide right into place. So those are the 3 patterns that I have that's in the pack. And let's see, so I just want to do repeating patterns. Just making sure that I have that covered. And then we'll do this one. And then one more little cheetah. So I think on the other one I had it angled just a little differently, but you know, you can do whatever you'd like. Okay, so now we've got all of those strips glued down onto our base, and I'm going to flip it over and take my my snips and we'll cut. So flip it over to the back side. And I'm using, the reason why I'm using 4 by 6 here is because that's the size that I found was comfortable for me to use my die cutting machine and that largest rectangle from the deckled rectangle. So that's why I started out with that. And we can come back in and glue any of the pieces that are loose, but you just trim off all of these extras. And we'll get this other side here. All right, so that's how kind of made our own designer series paper area. And then, you know, you would actually have enough left over of the strips that we just trimmed off that you could make another card using this if you want. I'm just going to put all of these off to the side. All right, now I shared with you that you can make this any color that you want, and it's true, by using our, by applying ink to the top of this. So I'm going to use Blushing Bride. I kind of was in a girly mode here today, so I'm like, I'm going to do Blushing Bride. So it could be any color though. So this is what I like about this is that if you were going to do a party that maybe you had like a jungle theme or a wild theme, you know, like this could be something that you could do to match your color palette. So whether you did blues or greens or brights or settles or just whatever you want, you can do that. So I'm just taking my my blending brush and I'm going right over the area here that I'm going to end up die cutting. And I'm just going to keep swirling and swirling. You could even put multiple colors on it. You could color the stripes or the strips ahead of time if you wanted to, and do different colors, and you'd have different colors of animal print on here. And I'll go ahead and get this. All right, let's see if I got some more. And I think this is good. But as you can see, you can kind of keep going over it to get the dark. Like I'm going to, one more area over here needs to darken just a little bit. Kind of had too light of a touch. Okay. So what I like to do is after I get the ink applied, there is ink that's sitting on top of the metallic. So I'd like to take a paper towel and I'm just going to rub it off just in case, like it's not going to be horrible or anything, but the metallic isn't absorbing the ink like the white part of the designer paper is. So there's just a hint of the ink on here, but I just kind of like to do that just to kind of polish that up. So now I have a gold and Blushing Bride piece here. All right, so what I'm going to do is show you how you can take this now and use your dies and die cut it. So just a second. All right. Normally I have all of the die cutting and things done here for us just because of how my setup is. But I thought today I would show you how you can do this. Okay. So got my die and emboss machine. And this is why I did the 4x6 because it just gives me a little bit of room. And then I can kind of play around just a little bit as well with any of the areas that I like better than the others. I want to keep that in frame and make my sandwich. It's always very important when you make your sandwich plate that you keep it on top of each other. Like you don't have any of it overhanging. It'll help your plates not to curl. Get that out. And what I mean by that is I didn't want to start putting it like this because that's where you can get warping. Okay. So we'll take this off. And now we have our layering piece. So exciting. I love that. Okay, I'll move this out of the road. And now we have our fun striped piece that we have done in our deckled frames. And I could do this with any shape or size of my dies. Probably the more open die, the better. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll make our card now. Okay, for this, what I want to do is I do want to have some ribbon that's tied around it. And I thought I would play around with the orientation for us. So I'm going to have the orientation go this way. And we have this really pretty gold ribbon. It is the shimmer ribbon. And I'm going to go ahead and see about how much I need. I always give myself a fairly generous amount just so that I can make my bow. And I'm going to kind of show you a little tip that I've discovered, or maybe it's even rediscovered. I like to take a glue dot when I'm making bows and grab a mini glue dot. And this is gonna, the glue dot's gonna almost act as like a third hand for me. So let's see, I think I want the bow here. So this is gonna be, I'm gonna put the glue dot down. Oops, I got that one pretty well used already. Let's get a new one. Okay, so here's where I want to tie the ribbon. Well, forevermore. I think it's liking to come off of the paper just a little bit. Let me do it one more time. Live is always fun, isn't it? Let's get that down. Oh my gosh. Well, maybe I can't show you my trick. All right. This doesn't work this time. All right. Well, put the glue dot down. And if it would stick, and I'm going to go ahead and tie this bow here. And this is where, like, if the glue dot would have stuck for me, it helps hold this down in place so that you can make your bow a little easier. But I'm going to go ahead and pretend that it did work. All right. I'm just laughing at myself. This is so funny. Every time live, right? Every time. But I know you guys know how it is. That's why I appreciate you guys all so much. And I'm going to add some dimensionals to the back of this. This time I'm going to pop up the this layering piece on my card base. And it's a nice big area, so you know, don't be stingy with the with our little Stampin' Dimensionals here. Get that off. Oh my goodness, it was so windy here today. We had that 50-mile-an-hour gust. It was crazy. All right, so put that down. So it's already cute. Oh my gosh, don't need one more little thing on it. But we are going to put one more little thing on it. Ahead of time, what I did is I've used the gold embossing powder, and I used the stamp set of our Petal Park. And where's it at? Well, Petal Park stamp pad, and I stamped our little floral images on it. There we go. So I have Petal Park, and I used the open ones here. So, oops, we're going to pretend that what I did is that I used my embossing buddy and take the static off of it. And then I did that with this Let's Celebrate too. Use Versamark. Inked that up and stamped my sentiment and my flowers. Sprinkled my gold embossing powder over it, tapped it off, and used the heat tool to heat set the embossing powder. And then you get this beautiful look here on it. So I did this on our Blushing Bride, and I did Let's Celebrate on basic white. And the Let's Celebrate is from Sentimental Park here, or on it. And so now I'm going to use some punches. I'm going to use the Petal Park Flower Punch. And we'll line up the flowers. I love that you can stamp once, and when you punch, you get 3 of the 3 petals with one punch. So we've got those. Look how pretty those are when they're embossed. I love it. And then I'm going to take the Modern Circle Punch for the Let's Celebrate. and I want to punch it with the Let's Celebrate towards the bottom. We'll get that punched. And that was just still heat embossed using our gold embossing powder. And let's go ahead and we'll build this. I want to go ahead, because this is already raised once here, I don't want it to get too high or too thick. So I'm going to just use liquid glue, and we'll put this down here at the bottom. And we'll get our Stampin' Dimensionals, like 3 of them, 1 for each flower. 1, 2, and 3. And get the large one down first. Kind of make a little trio up here. Let's Celebrate. Put the medium one a little bit off to the right. And the small one kind of in the center of those. And then you could just do another piece of basic white at 4 by 5 1/4 on the inside of it. But then you've got this cute little look here of our, what do I want to say? We took our ink and we colored our strips and made this kind of one-of-a-kind, kind of fun multi-animal look with it. So this is use number 2 here tonight on our live at 5 of an idea that you can use this animal print with. So I definitely wanted to use the florals on this just to show that you can use the animal print however you want. You can go masculine, you can go feminine, and wanted to kind of show that look to it. All right, so that's our project number 2. Our third way that you can think about using the animal print, again, for some reason, and it might have been because I was down the party aisle at a store, and they had all of this, like have a wild party, go wild. And I thought, well, gosh, we can make our own little cute little party favors out of this, like an animal designer series paper. And I wanted to show you how that if you wanted to maximize all 12 sheets, that you could actually make 48 of these little treat holders. All right, so let me show you how I made that. Get my paper and stuff back in here. Okay. So I'm going to make up a bunch of these, and also I wanted to show you how those kind of came together. Now I'm not going to have all of the paper just so just pretend this is all the same sheet of paper. But you can actually get 4 of these out of one 12 by 12. All right, so we are so for this little treat bag, we're going to need a 4 by 8 piece of the designer paper. And if you cut it, if you cut 4 inches off of one side, and then you are left with an 8 by 12, cut each of these at 4 inches, you get 3 here. And then on this 4-inch by 12-inch strip, go ahead and cut 8 inches off of that. And that's where you can get 4 bags out of one sheet of designer paper. And then, of course, if you use the whole pack, you could get up to 4 times 12 is 48. So you could get 48 of these little treat bags out of one pack of paper. I am going to go ahead and use the this cheetah print, I think is what it is. And for scoring, I want to go ahead and I'm going to use the matte side just because I think you can see it a little better. And let me get my measurements here. Okay. So I made this little template here and it worked. Hooray. I was always real proud of myself on that. We are going to score it at a 1/2 inch, 3 1/4, 4 1/4, and 7. And because this paper really doesn't have orientation, I don't have to worry about what side is what. So we're going to score it at 1/2 inch. I've got my Simply Scored scoring tool, 3 1/4. But you could so use your paper trimmer and your scoring blade, 4 1/4 and 7. Now we're going to turn it towards the 4-inch end, and we're going to score at an inch. If it's easier for you to come in an inch this way, you could do that, or you can come in and score it an inch here. Sometimes I find it a little easier to come in from the right side. Okay, so that's what we need. It's a really simple bag or even a little open-ended box to make. All right, so let's get our bone folder, and we'll kind of get the score lines here so that you can see it. Let's bring in the bag again so everyone can see where I'm going. And one more this way. And then fold that 1 inch that we did. Okay. Now, if you wanted to, you could come in and color each of that again, if you'd like, but I'm going to kind of show you another way that you can kind of, what I want to say, you can use your cardstock to kind of coordinate with it too. Okay, so the first thing that I like to do is we're going to take out, and I can kind of bring you in my little sheet here if everyone can read my scribbles here. We are going to completely take out this corner here. This is where we scored at a 1/2 inch. And so I'm going to go just slightly beyond the score line so that I can angle cut that. And then what we're going to do from here is we're going to just simply follow the score lines and come up to and stop at the intersections. It's pretty forgiving, so don't be too concerned if you're off just a little bit. Okay. And then whatever side that you want, I want the metallic side facing out. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn inward this one, the little 1/2 inch section. And I'm going to get my Terran tape. And you could use liquid glue if you want, but because of the metallic, I think sometimes the liquid glue has just a little harder time setting. So if you use the metallic side, want to use either Terran tape or Stampin' Seal Plus for it. All right, do that. Get my Take Your Pick tool to get started. And a super easy way of putting the box together is to put it, or even the bag, however we want to call it, is to do it while it's flat. So you can just kind of fold this up and line up the edges. And then you can kind of press that out. And then when you open it up, you've got the makings of our little box. And then you can just tuck in the sides first. And then since this is the non-metallic side here, if you want to use your liquid glue, you can do that. So I'm just going to put a little bit there. And go ahead and close it up. I'll put my hand in there and kind of get good contact. And now we have this cute little bag. Bag or open box, however you want to think about it. So just right here, if you wanted to, you could just fill this with tissue paper or crinkle paper, put your goodies in it, and have that sitting out as a party favor, just like as an open bag party favor. What I did here is I simply kind of pushed in the sides, kind of squeeze it in like that. And then if you want to, you can take like a paper clip and keep it held that way. Here on this one, what I did is I took a standard office hole punch and punched a hole and just tied a ribbon, through it here. But what we're going to do on this one is I'm going to use this gold binding clip. This is a retired item that Stampin' Up! Had way back in the day. And I bought it when I went on the clearance rack. So don't neglect the clearance rack when you see these goodies on there. But you can find these little gold clips around too if you'd like that look. And I just kind of wanted to show how you could bring back in the color from maybe your invites or some other of your decorations around. So I'm using, I use Layering Circle dies, and I've got a circle and I've got the scallop, and this is in Blushing Bride. And I'm using the sentiment from Best Day, wishing you all the wishes. And here, what I wanted to show you is that if you wanted to, let's see here. Oh, where did it go? Okay, so you could emboss this again with our gold embossing, but I think soft suede, if you didn't want to emboss, is probably the best color. And so I've got wishing you all of the wishes. Oops. All right, we're going to go with that side, even though it's not quite right. I had a little bit too much ink on the side of it, but I think that'll be just fine for the purpose of what we're doing here today. Normally, I would have taken that and restamped it again, but it's not perfect. That means it's homemade. And get some dimensionals. Oops, you can see here that I used some scrap Blushing Bride. That was another technique that we used with the blending brushes. And we can put that on there. And I'll hold it with my thumb so that you don't see it. And then we could tie this back with our metallic ribbon. And let's see if our glue dots will work this time. I bet they will. And then since we have our shimmer gold or gold shimmer ribbon, I'm just going to put that right onto the gold clip. It could be any color clip that you'd like. And put our gold bow that dresses it up. And I'm going to cut down the tails on it just a little bit. And now when we bring in what might be like, this could be our invitation, let's celebrate. And then this would be the little treat bags that you could have when they come in. So that is our class here tonight. Oh, I wanted to show how, again, if you didn't want to do the gold and silver embossing powder, that again, soft suede and gold looks great together. And then the basic gray with the silver looks good with it. So that's what I did here. I used the basic gray, same sentiment, wishing you all the wishes. So whether you use a gold or the silver, you could have that. And then let's bring in our card that we made with our stripes. So like an animal can be maybe like one of those that you overlook and say, oh, I'm not quite sure what I would do with it. But hopefully this gives you a few ideas of how you could take this designer paper, add whatever die cuts, punches, sentiments, occasions that you might have, and really make a fun and whimsical set of cards and even party favors. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching and happy crafting. Bye-bye.